This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results.
It's no different than being a professional baseball player. You can't be a one-trick pony. You have to be a 5-tool player in order to succeed in this game.
This is the Power Producers Podcast, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
All right, everybody. We are pleased to have one of my favorite people in the technology world. 2 days in a row, man. We had 2 of my favorite people in the technology world on. Mr. Chris Langille from Advisor Evolved in Local Traffic. He handles all of the website work for Florida Risk Partners and just launched a new company that he's going to be using for a variety of industries to help your presence online. And I'm going to let him talk about that in a little bit, but just wanted to welcome him to the show. Chris, thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I don't get to see you nearly as much as I'd like to, but
no doubt. No, I know it's especially nowadays we can't leave our houses. So it's
I've gotten more done. It's insane how much more I've gotten done, in the last couple of weeks than I typically do in months. And because we're all forced to sort of slow down and look at things. And I've really just looked at, okay, what's the crap I normally don't ever want to do? And that's what I've been doing. Yeah. I mean,
I feel like I've been just as busy. I mean, I haven't really seen too much of a drop off aside from not going out and physically like walking into people's businesses. I mean, it's been mostly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't slowed down at all for new business at all. Like that part's crazy. And I mean, we've been very, very careful. I'm not a huge fan of everybody shouting out all the information about COVID because I think you have 5,000 people saying the same thing. Yep. So I always try and have a little bit different message. We scored big because we decided that we would do, like, as soon as I heard payroll protection loans were coming up, the next morning I sat straight up in bed. I'm like, boom, I've got a relationship with a community bank. I've got a lot of clients that are going to want this money. Community banks are going to be small enough they can pivot on this thing quick. Called my buddy that's the CEO of the bank and said, I'd really appreciate it if we could do a webinar with your SBA lenders so I could drive business to you. Who's going to say no to that? And we did a webinar, had a couple hundred people on there, and it's worked very, very well. And they have delivered, man. If you've read anything at all on the news, which I try not to read too much news, but anything at all on the news, the community banks are the biggest winners right now in this whole payroll protection thing because they've delivered when Wells Fargo and Chase and Bank of America haven't.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, man. I mean, it's a good idea that you did that too, by the way, especially with you having a big book of commercial and that being like a big vertical for you. So that was a smart play.
We try to hunt with a rifle, not with a shotgun. So while everybody else is out there hammering, let me be a thought leader on COVID, I'd rather be a thought leader on let me show you how I can get you money that you need. Yep. Which one do you think is going to get people's attention?
I know it's crazy. It's, part of what we do, like with the traffic generation stuff, writing out ads, we're always looking for an angle for the ad copy. And it's like with the stimulus package, right? We're writing ads now that basically are like, create your own stimulus, like call for us to review your insurance. And you could probably work that angle too with commercial stuff. It's everybody now. I mean, especially some of the small businesses. I mean, like hairdressers and stuff like that. They can't go to work. Everybody's looking to cut costs. It's just crazy.
Well, I mean, look, man, you're 100% right. And yes, we are working that angle, because the one thing that we were able to do, and this is why I'm such a huge fan of webinars, especially when you have CRM and automations in place. Once somebody signs up, you got them.
Yep.
You know, you've got their contact information. You can continue to market to them. And while we're not obnoxious about it, I know that if these people were looking for money, guess what? They're also looking to cut costs. Yep. So next Wednesday at 2:00 is my webinar on ways to cut costs inside your workers' compensation program. And we've already got, a couple hundred registrants for that. I know for a fact that 100% of the accounts are shopping this year. Everybody. Yep. And you either can meet that need for your client, or somebody else is going to go in and meet that need. So even though I have relationships, some of them that are over a decade old, every single client's got sensitivities when it comes to cost at this point. We're being very, very careful when we talk to people. I don't want to talk to them about price. I don't talk about price. I don't talk about premium. I talk about cost, because the real opportunity, especially with what we do, is we can go in and look at total cost of risk. There's all kinds of things that are not right about somebody's workers' comp program that has nothing to do with the premium, because the fact is, in Florida, we have state administered pricing. I go to 10 different carriers. The price is the same on the bottom line with all 10. But if I can tell somebody that there's a possibility that there are cost savings involved because by doing policy review or experience mod analysis, they're going to let me have an opportunity to look at that stuff. And I'm going to find missing safety credit, missing drug-free credit, missing Florida contractor premium adjustment program credit. Yeah. The experience mod is out of whack. Classifications could be jacked. I mean, all kinds of things. And not the least of which is, how do people pay in, right? I think a lot of agents out there screw up because they don't take advantage of the payroll self-reporting or the payroll integrations for their clients, whereas almost 100% of our clients do monthly self-audit or are integrated with their payroll company. And the reason why that's important is because if they're not using payroll right now, they don't have premium and they're not paying premium. Whereas if you're on an estimated program, you either have to ask your carrier to defer that payment or you have to make it. And at the end of the year, you still have to deal with audit swings. So there's a lot of different things people are going to learn on that webinar that have absolutely nothing to do with the premium.
Yeah.
It has to do with the premium, but it's not.
Yeah. It's crazy how often things change in a business, like throughout the course of a year or 2 years or whatever, and how few times the average person and the average business owner reviews their insurance, in particular work comp. It's like, people just don't think about that during the course of the year. It's like they just look at it at renewal or maybe every other renewal. And it's like, 45 things have changed and you haven't accounted for any of them with your insurance. It's like, there's a big opportunity there. It's crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
I'll say this.
Well, it's one of,
go ahead. I'm glad that today's guest is joining me in the facial hair game. Yesterday was pretty weak between you two. A lot of bald faces going on.
I just had to trim dude, it was like down to here, man. I was starting to look homeless. I'm like, I need to figure this out.
And sadly, before that, we had Jason Kilgo on, whose beard game is so ridiculously strong.
Yeah,
that I told both of them I don't even know why I'm on here. I can't grow a beard if I had to. If I tried to grow a beard, I'd look like some sort of an abused rescue animal because I'd be like patches of hair missing and everything else.
Kilgo has a quality beard. There's probably there might be a couple like birds nested in there too.
It was long.
That's pretty fluffy, man. I think he's at the point now where he has to brush it like he brushes his hair.
Yeah. Well, no, he was actually made reference to the fact that the only talent you need to have to grow a good beard is to be lazy about shaving. That he qualified that as a talent.
Shaving is the worst. It's the absolute worst.
Yeah. If most people try to do it, they do it the wrong way. So in a former lifetime, I was actually a barber. So I know all about the facial hair shaving, trimming game, but a lot of people don't know how to do it the right way. So like they try to trim long beard hair with like a Bic razor. You actually need a pair of clippers to do it the right way.
Right.
It's more involved than people think, it's funny.
I like that thing that they have on Facebook right now. That's like the template that you put on the side of your face, and then you shave around it, and then you flip it another way, and you can get up under. Like, if you need that, just don't have a beard. Like, seriously.
Yeah, that's weak.
Who needs a template to properly shape
It's
their
like
beard?
the Flowbee of beard trimmers.
Right.
Hey, look, I'll be the first guy to
bumpers
admit
when you're
I'm one of those.
bowling. It's ridiculous.
Hey, I'm one of those people that if I don't know, sometimes stupid things I just do them to mark it off the bucket list. But I can raise my hand and say I have actually had a haircut with a Flowbee before,
dude. I mean,
way back when.
So I have a vacuum connected to my clippers, mostly because of my kids. Like, kids are usually pretty like rammy when they're in the chair, they're moving around, they want to see what you're doing, and nothing will make a kid move more than having like hair all over their neck, and they're like constantly trying to itch their neck. So it's connected to a vacuum. So it just, there's no hair on you at all. It's actually really cool, but people are always clowning me. They're like, is that a Flowbee? And I'm like, no, listen, if the next time you need a haircut, I'll do it. And you'll love it because you'll get up and be able to like go about your day without having to like take a shower or like whatever, you know?
That's the worst. But the thing about the Flowbee was that there was no talent needed to cut the hair because you just put like a different angled attachment on depending on what part of your head. And I mean, that one of great lines from Wayne's World. It sucks while it cuts. Most definitely sucks.
I'm surprised that the Flowbee didn't take off more than it did. I mean, it was like, it hit hard for a couple of years and I feel like it fell off. People, I think, enjoy going to a salon or a barbershop just for like the personal touch, the conversation, that kind of thing.
I feel like if they would have timed their release around the release of Dumb and Dumber, it may have had a better chance of taking off because you were guaranteed to end up with the Lloyd Christmas. With
no doubt.
That was definitely happening.
That was really the only option, man. It's like, that's hilarious.
It is. It's so funny. I could talk about haircuts for days. But anyhow, listen, Chris, why don't you tell everybody sort of, you got a pretty unique background story. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know about the whole barber thing, but I mean, I know you were an agent for a while, for a long time, and then just decided, enough's enough.
Yeah. So I went to school for visual communications. And so I've always been like a right-brained type of person. And I, like many people that end up in the insurance industry, I had no game plan or, I did it because when I was younger, I was actually a client of mine. I was cutting his hair. And he drove into the barbershop in a Mercedes Benz. And I was like, what do you do for a living? You're like my age. At the time, I was like 23 or something. He's like, I sell insurance. I work at AIG. AIG's corporate headquarters were like right up the street from us in Wilmington, Delaware. And long story short, I was just beat up from cutting hair. You're on your feet from 10 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. And you're not making there's no passive income. You can't make money unless you're standing there on your feet cutting someone's hair. If you're sick one day, you miss $300. If you hurt your hand, you cut your finger, like stupid stuff like that used to happen to me. I would be like cutting through an apple and I'm like, oh my God, I can't work for like 3 days.
Crazy. You don't think about that at all.
I know. It's just weird, dude. My shoulder was giving me trouble too. I remember that like messing with me for a couple months, but I started working for AIG. I was selling homeowners insurance out of a cubicle. And I'm like, man, sounds like easy money. It's just the calls were coming in all day. I'm sitting there in a cubicle on a headset, just slinging policies all day. And I became really good at it. And I met at the time, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, her best friend's husband was a financial planner, very successful, young, but very successful financial planning firm. And he was like, man, do you want to work for us? You can start a scratch agency and, it'll be your own thing. You won't be working for someone else. So yeah, let's do it. So started a scratch agency and got that off the ground. It was a lot slower than I thought it would be. So I wasn't, I was eating ramen noodles and whatnot, in the beginning, which we all do that. Right. The whole time I was doing that though, I was still very much like attracted to design, artsy stuff. I used to draw all the time and just stuff like that. I was still very much in tune with like my art, the art side of my brain. And it got to the point where I was running the agency by myself. And it got to the point where it did take off and we had more customers that I could handle by myself. And it started to impact our growth. I couldn't sell as much because I was on the phone with people all day doing customer service stuff. we finally, at the very end, started using service centers and offloading some of the support. But it got to the point where I kind of turned into like a customer service rep as opposed to a, agency principal / revenue generating individual. So I kind of got, I don't know, I kind of got worn out, man. And I started messing with website development, got to the point where people were hitting me up about sites, and I did Josh Lipstone. He was like one of our first customers, and I remember doing his site.
An Advisor Evolved, was he really?
Yeah. So
what was he like? Was he like 10 years old?
Yeah, pretty much. I remember doing his, and then like he mentioned my name somewhere on his personal Facebook group, and like 5 people hit me up immediately, and they were like, "Can you do ours?" So it got to the point where I kind of fell in love with the marketing side of things and fell out of love with being an insurance agent. And it just got to the point where I was like, man, I've worked so many like bad jobs in my life, overnighters at Home Depot, when I was like 18, busboy, dishwasher, cutting grass. I've done it all, man. And it's like, I need to do something that I love to do, not something that I like to do. And, if financially I could, pay bills and raise my kids and support my family, like I'm going to eventually do this full time. So I kind of made that like pact with myself, and just in time it took off. And then with the some of the Facebook groups like IAOA and some of these other groups that we're all in together, right? Jason Cass's group, like you're exposed to so many other agency owners. And I was never promotional or salesy about any of it. And I think that's probably why people appreciated it and came to me, because they were like, we trust this guy, and he was an agent. I'm not going to try to sell you a raft of BS. I think, we have a very fair price for what we do, and a really good service like that people genuinely need. At the time, there was a couple companies that were selling websites and doing marketing stuff in the insurance space. And at that point in time, it was like, it was kind of like maybe like how automation is now. Like everyone knows the word, but very few people actually understand how it truly works and how to do it. They talk about it because they know enough about it to be dangerous. That's how website stuff was. So like anyone that said the word like website, agencies were like, oh, like, they would open up their wallets. And there were some people that were taking advantage of agency owners. And I mean like bad, like $60,000 contracts that you couldn't get out of for 3 years and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I need to figure out a way to do this where we could scale it and it's a fair cost for everybody involved and affordable for even like one-man agencies. Cause I was a one-man agency, and I remember that, the guys that I was partnering with, like they were funneling a majority of their marketing dollars into the financial planning side, because the revenue on that side of things is like quadruple what it was on the insurance. So of course they're going to keep feeding that. And it was almost like that's kind of why, in some reasons, maybe why I kind of developed like a complex about digital marketing. It's like the kid that gets the bad haircuts his whole life, and finally like he meets someone that can cut their hair really good, and he's like, oh my God, I need a haircut every week. It was kind of like you develop this like complex about it. And that's kind of what happened with me. And it just led to this. And I didn't plan on it being like as big as it is now. I mean, we're like, not to like toot any horns, but we're like a preferred vendor with like Safeco, Trusted Choice, SIAA. We're not just like running this out of my mom's basement, like I was in the very beginning. And then from that came local traffic marketing, which, man, to be honest with you, we were going to basically brand it under the Advisor Evolved brand. Because what was happening was, and you probably know a little bit about this, like a lot of people assume that the person that builds your website is like responsible for like using it for you and driving traffic to it. It's like, I
hear it all the time, man. I mean, in even to your point about the bad contract, that guy that I sent you last week or earlier this week, that was the exact case. this guy's dumping his heart out to me on the phone, asking for advice on what he can do to grow. And he tells me that he spent like $75,000 over 2 or 3 years. And I said, look, I'm glad this is a phone call. I'm not across from you because you'd probably want to strangle me or throw something at me. I said, but you wasted that money, brother. Yeah. I said, you didn't get anything you needed for that. And, I think that's part of the problem with agencies. It's funny that you said that about how people talk about automations. They open up their wallet. My opinion in the insurance industry is that if you're not acting on one of the the buzzwords that people are talking about, then you're just not one of the cool kids.
Right.
And so, it's automation, it's websites, it's VAs. Yep. Like for a long time, it's like if you wanted to be a member of the club, you better have a VA in your organization, yep, or you're not running a good agency. So I think that the dynamic in the insurance community is crazy. I do think that you've done yourself a favor, though, because if you brand it local traffic, you're not captive to that. And the skill set that you have for what you're doing in local traffic is transferable to literally any industry. It doesn't have to be captive to insurance. So that was really a much better move for you to do that, Mike.
Yeah, we also want to make it. So the funny part about it is, and this kind of hit me very late, like in the process of branding it to local traffic marketing, I had like an epiphany. It was like 3 a.m. I like couldn't fall back to sleep. And I'm like, we need to allow our clients, our insurance agency clients, to be like affiliates for this, because you, for example, you have a book of commercial clients. They need customers too. You could go to them and say, hey, we're an affiliate, or we refer people to this digital marketing company. And then we would basically pay you like a recurring affiliate fee. That would help you cover your costs to us, right? But also helping your existing clients. So it's almost like, I hate to say, like one of those, like, I can't even remember.
You're going to say multi-level marketing.
Yes. And I started to think about it. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want it to be like that type of thing. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if my customers can break even on their cost by referring us a handful of people, why not? And so that's kind of like why, I wanted to break it away from Advisor Buff, because I know a lot of other business owners too. I mean, I know people that run pizza shops, and, I know hairdressers, and I know HVAC people and contractors, roofers, like dental, medical, like all of those people need clients too. And what we do, like our package is really built, like the mistake that most people make with marketing, especially digital marketing, is like they rely only on one thing. They get so excited about SEO, or they get so
it's a buzzword, man. It's a buzzword.
They get excited about, Facebook ads or this or that. And I'm like, the reality is, like, if you're a small business owner, like there's certain things that you shouldn't waste your time on. And there's certain things that you should spend time and money on. And that's kind of what we do. Like, we do the minimum viable stuff for the company, for the business, that they don't have the time or team to do themselves. And it's a balanced approach, right? So we're doing a little bit of local SEO. We're doing some GMB and reputation management. We're doing pay-per-click. So we're doing like Google local ads, Map Pack ads, call ads, Facebook ads, retargeting website visitors with ads. So it's like a full funnel marketing approach. And like you said, it works for anybody. It works for any industry or vertical that needs new customers and has a like brick and mortar location. So it's thus far it's been really good. Like, it's working. We have people that are showing up organically in the Map Pack for multiple keyword variations, and there's an ad in the Map Pack, and then they're ranking number 1 organically. So they're getting 3 placements out of a possible 5 in a given search query. Like, that's major for click through and for website traffic. And like someone the other day was talking about Podium, right? Which is like a chat tool. Heard very good things about it. I know those guys, they're cool guys. Like they've been around for a while, but the reality is, like, they're charging, I think, whatever, $350, $400 a month. And a lot of people bought it, but like they're not investing in the traffic generation first. So like you have this web widget that costs more than what you're paying us for the website. And like, you're not actually invested in generating traffic to the site. So no one's using it, So it's just trying to like educate people on, where you should allocate your marketing dollars. And I'm not like, again, like I'm not saying spend it all with us, but like, if you're going to have a website, you have to also think about how you're going to get traffic to the site so that you can actually use it as a revenue generation tool. Like every business owner is going to get those lucky hits to their site from like local searchers, just, searching for exact match keywords and stuff like that. But like to really scale it and to really start churning out leads, I mean, you really have to do a little bit of both SEO and pay-per-click. So that's kind of like why we went that way.
Yeah, it's exactly true. I mean, I see it all the time. You got people that want to do organic content. I'm a huge fan of, even though it's not on my site right now, one of the things that we've been doing while we're down is putting together evergreen content, blog posts with video and everything that we can possibly do to be able to draw that anchor text and keywords out of those post COVID, right? Yep. Because 6 months from now, people aren't going to be Googling COVID anymore. Right. They're going to be Googling what is coinsurance, what is a dividend on workers' comp or whatever else. And these are all the things we've made excuses for how long we don't have the time to do. That now's a perfect time to be focusing on all that. Yep. So, it's interesting because I think that people too, to your point, you put the website together. Okay, great. That would be like me going and buying HubSpot out of the box, right? And saying, okay, I've got a username and password to HubSpot. Yeah. Come to daddy. Do everything you're supposed to do for me. You're getting a chassis. You're getting a vehicle to operate out of. You still have to add things to your website. You still have to put content there. You still have to create landing page with ads and things to point to it.
Yep.
And there is a secret sauce. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't do any of that stuff myself. You're going to be doing it for me when I'm ready to pull the trigger and have my stuff stabilized on the inside, because there's going to need to be some HubSpot workflows that work around it. But, at the end of the day, you have to have a certain amount of pay-per-click stuff or display and search and all of that to complement it. And if I say it in the podcast intro, if you're not a 5-tool player, you're toast. Yeah. You have to be a 5-tool player in everything you do.
Yeah, especially in insurance, man. It's a very competitive industry. You have a lot of people that are, selling the same products from the same carriers with the same message and don't understand that it's really a disruption game. Like the person that wins the attention game is the one that is going to have the brand recognition, the authority. And that is part of the problem that we're trying to solve with, both our website stuff and the local traffic marketing is like most of the insurance agencies don't do any form of advertising, not even offline advertising. I'm like, people will launch their new site. They won't even post it on their Facebook page. Hey, look at our new site. People are just not naturally good at promoting what they do. You probably, being in the insurance space, like you probably come up against young brokers that just got licensed 2 years ago that, have a handful of super easy bops that they wrote, and they're toting the line that they're a commercial lines specialist, where you've been in the foxhole for 25, 30 years. You've seen every scenario, but yet to the consumer, they can't tell the difference between you and this kid. And that's problematic for a lot of agencies, because there's a lot of agencies that are really, really good at what they do, but they're not good at promoting it. And so therefore people don't know that. And, their growth is not as good as people that can market themselves. It's just crazy how it works. But
what's like the biggest obstacle when you engage with agencies in that situation that you run into? Like do you kind of butt heads with philosophies and they think it should be done one way, but obviously, things don't work like that. Like what's that look like? What's that interaction like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. So we don't necessarily butt heads. I tend to have sort of a tough love approach with some of these folks, just because they don't know what they don't know about it. And many of the situations, they don't even know what questions to ask us. They're like, will you be running ads for us? And we're like, yeah, that's part of what we do. Is that included? And I'm like, yes. But I think what happens is just educating people on advertising in general. Like, hey, if you have a $300 a month budget, we can't advertise to the entire state of California for you. Like, we don't have enough ad spend based on your audience size. But just educating them on, hey, here's how you target certain niches or verticals. Like Facebook, for example, is not a good platform for targeting certain niches. Like I know a lot of people that try to target trucking companies on Facebook. Well, I can tell you that it's hard to find the owner of a trucking company, right, that has a 25 truck fleet policy or whatever, like that individual is not on Facebook.
Right.
And if you can target them somehow with Facebook's targeting parameters, which are constantly changing, and their algorithm is just, it's somewhat of a mess, to be honest with you, it's still going to be hard. And people just have this expectation that just because I am running ads, like people are going to see them and people are going to click them and people are going to do business with me. So yeah, there's definitely a gap in knowledge. And just like with insurance, like, you know, it's so much easier to get an account like David, like it's so much easier to get an account, a commercial account, when they're an educated client, when they understand like why you're doing what you're doing and they know, you know, the pros, cons, and whatever. So that's where we're at. Like we have to educate the person first, and then, you know, they become a client. And that's sort of always been our approach anyway, like for every scenario, which I think is good. I mean, we've never hard sold anybody or never probably even asked for a sale. Like we're very, very laid back with most of our processes. And I don't know, maybe that's just something people are not used to from digital marketers. Like usually digital marketers are pushy, salesy, click here, buy now, do this, do that. But we're definitely,
yeah. Hey, you stopped by our booth at Innovation. I just wanted to follow up. Actually, no, I didn't. I didn't stop by any booth at Innovation.
Dude, I seriously, like, I don't even email those people anymore. Like, and it's bad to say this, but I come back with like 50 business cards. Sometimes the last like 2 conferences, I have not had a chance to like put them in our CRM and email them. And like, people are probably like, this guy's like, doesn't even care. It's not that. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of it's not our deal, you know?
Well, that and the fact that you end up in a position where you're lumped in with all of the annoying people, right? Like I literally had a guy come up to me. My whole talk at Innovation was about hiring and how you should qualify, how you can qualify hiring people in a very unique process that I developed. And this dude comes up, hey man, heard you're doing a talk for an hour and I just would really love to tell you how we could probably help you. I'm like, dude, everything I'm talking about means I don't need you. Like it renders your product completely useless. Did you bother to read what I was gonna say or whatever? It's crazy, man. I mean, I think that the insurance people are interesting for a lot of reasons. There are very few of us that started in insurance, right? Like everybody finds their path to it being in insurance, but very few of us started there. But I also, it's like, I don't know, man. It seems like some of it's like Groundhog Day to me because there's a subset of agencies out there. They're always going to complain, period. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you say, hey, I can show you how to fix this, here's how much it's going to cost. Oh, I'm not spending that money on that. Well, you know, it's a never ending cycle. It's like a grumpy old man yelling at you to get off of his lawn is my peer group.
Yeah, I know. It's tough, man. It's, you know, it's a tough industry to be in, dude. You get beat up in this industry, you know, by clients, by carriers. Like you got to have thick skin and you have to be able to just take action. Like that's like what you just said. So many people are like, you know, they'll come and hear you talk for an hour about, you know, how you hire people and whatever. And then like, you know, in the hallway, they're like, so how do you hire people? And you're like, dude, didn't you just hear me? I explained step by step exactly what I do. Like people just are not paying attention. A lot of people are not, they're asleep at the wheel and they're asking. I mean, if I had a nickel, dude, for every time I answered the same question over and over and over again, and I don't say that to complain. It's just that, you know, people are busy. They forget. I get that. But yeah, in general, it's like, man, like wake up, guys. Like, you know, this stuff is not hard. You just have to, you got to pay attention. You got to apply what you learn, you know? So.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, I don't know. People always want to know, what do you know, how did you sell this? How did you get in front of this person? How did you do that? Well, yeah, I can tell you how I would do that, but it's going to require that you completely brainwash yourself and start over again because you're not doing it now. And I mean, I thought I talked about this before, but I thought I was going to get reprimanded because when I was doing my talk at Innovation, At the end, I wrapped up with enough time for a Q&A, and a guy raised his hand and he said, I want to know how I can start getting in front of middle market accounts. And I said, well, you do it. I said, you just go make your mind up that you're going to go do it. And he said, well, he goes, I just don't even know. I said, listen, you need to grow a set and get out on the street and start knocking on doors. That's it. We get done. I'm like, oh crap, man. I just told that guy to grow a set in front of a room of a couple hundred people. I'm going to get called in on the carpet for that. Funny story. A couple months later, he calls me. Like I have this HubSpot booked appointment, and I pick up the phone and I'm like, he said, hey, how's it going? I said, how did you hear about me? He goes, actually, we were at Innovation, and I'm the guy who, I was like, dude, I said, I felt so bad after talking to you. I literally searched you out in the hallways. I couldn't find you. I said, I felt so terrible for what I said. He goes, actually, that's exactly what I needed to hear. You needed to be direct with me. I appreciate it. So, it's crazy, man. But I mean, we overcomplicate so much stuff. I had 3 people. This is not a story. I have taken 3 agent of record letters this morning over the phone. And the reason I got it was because somebody said, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of my agent, and they wouldn't even answer their phone. And it's just like, you've got to be kidding me. Another one, the lady says to me, look, this one was a personalized policy, which I don't really mess with that much, but I happened to answer the phone. Okay, whatever. It's money, right? I mean, if I can buy a sushi dinner with the commission, then I will. But at the end of the day, she says, well, I had a problem because my loan got sold and the mortgagee clause didn't get updated, and then my escrow was off. So I called my agent. He called me back like 20 minutes later and said, look, I was on hold with 15 minutes with your mortgage company. You're going to have to go ahead and handle this yourself. I'm like, what? Right. I said, this is why I have a headset, man. I wear a hands-free headset so that I can type and do whatever. You want me to hold for 4 hours? No, not a problem. I'll hold for 4 hours. It's just, it blows my mind. We are so worried. And it goes back to what I said before, man, whether it's VAs or CRMs or whatever else. People come into Killing Commercial for us to teach them how to sell commercial product and to get out and go in front of middle market businesses. It requires no CRM. It requires no VA. What it requires is you to do some work. I mean, that's it. Go out and do some work. These people everybody expects, I don't care what the service is that you have, what the need is that you're meeting. Everybody expects you to have a magic wand, and it's not there, right? I mean, I can show you what to do, but I'm not going to go out and do it for you. And I mean, you're the closest thing to that, right? With local traffic, that's the closest thing to a magic wand for business development that anybody's going to have. They can pay you a fee. They can set their ad budget, and then it should be like Christmas morning for them.
Yep.
So where are you seeing the most success right now in terms of local traffic? I know that I listened on one of the mastermind calls when you were on with Cass, and I had heard you specifically talking about like boats or yachts and then going after high net worth and stuff like that. But what other areas have you guys had some success?
Yeah, so it's funny. I talk about trucking insurance. We just started doing some search ads for trucking. That campaign like literally just started, so we don't really have a lot of data on it right now. But like really, what we're doing the most of is honestly like general brand building type of campaigns. In Google, the way that you show an ad is basically you tell it what keywords you want your ad to trigger for, but other advertisers are also trying to trigger ads for the same keywords. So you're bidding on back and forth on the keywords. And so some industries are better with search traffic than others. Sometimes people come to us and they're like, well, we want to run Google ads for this. And we'll look and there's like less than 100 search queries a month, like nationwide. So I'm like, we can do it, but just don't expect a lot of volume from it or a lot of traffic or leads from it because not a lot of people are searching for it.
Which is funny because that flips everything upside down, right? The average person is going to think, oh yeah, there's only 100 people, that are whatever. I can get in here before everybody else. It's a huge waste of money. You need to go where everybody else is. That's the problem.
Yeah. There's 2 different ways of looking at it. Like in what you said is true. I mean, in those scenarios, what I tell people is like, look, if you can't get trucking companies on Facebook, run search ads and start calling them. Like go to them. Don't wait for them to search for what you sell. go to them, have like an outbound marketing approach. And that's another thing that we do. Like when people come, we have this sort of like add-on that people can buy. And it's where we give you like leads lists. So we can pull leads for like pretty much any industry in any location. So if somebody was like, we want to market to like restaurants in, Cleveland, Ohio, we can pull a list, shows you like their email address, phone number, contact information, social media channels, etc. It's like, here you go. Like, talk about VAs, like, here you go, have a VA, start calling these people, start emailing these people, like get in front of these people. But yeah, I would say like, to answer your question more directly, like right now we're not getting a lot of people that have bought like standalone campaigns for niches. I'm sure that will happen a lot. We're basically brand new. Like, we've been doing this like behind the scenes for 2 or 3 years now. We just never formalized a product or service or price for it. So we have done other niche campaigns for stuff, but I'm going to be working with Ryan Hanley with gyms. So he wants to focus on the fitness industry. So we're going to be doing some stuff with that. But we're doing more so just general brand building, trying to get repetition, because that's what creates authority. If people hear your name over and over and over again, they see your face over and over and over again, they will do business with you. They're more likely to do business with you. And we say this to people all the time, like, they're like, oh, well, local traffic marketing, like we have to make sure that our budget is right. And I'm like, man, like you're such a nice guy. This is me saying it to the customer. Like you're such a like cool person and you're good at what you do. Like, don't you think more people would do business with you if they just knew who the hell you were? Yeah. No one knows who you are, not even in your own town or community, outside of your, family, friends, and your like referral network, right? Like, and that only represents like 20% of your possible market. Like there's so much business out there for people if people just knew who they were. And that's really what the point of our program is. It's to build out your brand name in your local community first. We can go out from there. Like we're targeting 25 to 35 mile radius around the main agency location first. And then once we see some data flow through the accounts, see what the ad impressions look like, see who's clicking on the ads, who's not, we can then modify targeting, budget, location, stuff like that to kind of fine tune it. So we're still in the process now of like basically buying data from Google, which is just the way their platform works. You have to do it. Everybody has to do it. Facebook works the same way. So, but we almost created another, not company, but like another service that was, we didn't really have a name for it, but it was really all about like being like anti-algorithm. So like we see a lot of people struggling with ads and struggling with digital stuff when they could just be going straight to the agency, right? Like I told this to Cass, it's all about putting premium on the books, like whether you do it with ads or whether you do it with just buying some other dude's agency. Like buying someone else's agency is the quickest way, the most direct route to getting premium on your books, right? You don't have to run a single ad to do that. You can just, walk in and make an offer. And bypass everything that we do for you. But a lot of agencies are not in a position to do that. And some that are still have like kind of playing with house money. They're like, we still want to run ads. We still want to dominate locally. So we want to hire you to do that, even though we may not even necessarily need it. But yeah, it's just a weird dynamic. Every agency is different, it's just weird to see, not weird. It's interesting to see how different business owners operate, like how they view marketing in general. It's like, we heard this commercial, not to kind of like blabber on, but there was a commercial running here locally in the Philly area not that long ago. And it was like a man wakes up, he puts on his advertised watch, puts on his advertised shoes. He gets in his advertised car and he goes to get in his advertised cup of coffee. But this man doesn't believe in advertising. It's like such a powerful thing, when you think of.
Well, I think too, I've made this comment before when we've talked with other people, there's a difference between advertising and marketing.
Yep.
Advertising is a component of marketing, but marketing is a much bigger and broader picture. And I think that people oftentimes get those two terms confused and use them interchangeably. And that's a huge mistake. There's all kinds of things I can do from a marketing perspective. I could cold call do cold call drops on people. Yep. I'm marketing to them, but I'm not advertising, whereas I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. And I mean, again, you go back to an industry where everybody had an ad in the yellow pages at one point, it's crazy to think that way. But to your point about people doing business with people that they know, one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is the use of video. And I mean, we love the fact that we have quote vids on the back of our back end of our website. And I've even gotten to the point where on our site, my calendar integrates with HubSpot. So my booking link is with HubSpot. But just in the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to leverage how much video I can possibly do. And I actually created a landing page and embedded my calendar in there with a copy of my bio and a video of me just saying, hey, I'm David. I started Florida Risk Partners. I've got 4 kids and a wife. And, here's what I do, blah, 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 blah. And people are eating that up, man. Like it makes you a real person. So I can't wait to tape Kyle's. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Looking forward to that.
He's so money on video. It's the best. That's why we have an audio podcast and not a video podcast.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think I guess my question is, because it's funny you brought up trucking. I have 3 guys in Killing Commercial and possibly a 4th that all want to do trucking. Now, listen, trucking is one of those things in the insurance industry where you either do it or you don't. You don't dabble in trucking. I don't dabble in being an electrician, or I'd probably be fried. You know what I mean? You either know what you're doing or you don't. And if I really think that if you have good, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I really think that if you have a good process inside of a niche, that's really where local traffic can shine, is for niche players.
100%.
Has to be, right? Because I mean, look, I use Keyword Tool IO and all of these other things to do research for when I'm putting things together. Truthfully, I pay way too much money for that tool to not use it for display ads and things. I use it for anchor text and other things, though, to say, okay, this is what will help me get better SEO on a post that I put out, or a description of a video or whatever else. But I know that the guy that I have in-house who does HubSpot and does some of our Google ads right now, he uses that religiously. But I have to believe if you're a niche player, man, if you can get that dialed in, you're going to be slaying it, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. People want calls to come in, but it's just like I tell everybody that goes through the program, the very first thing I have them do is sit down and identify their ideal prospect. 80% of the agencies out there cannot articulate to you. If I were to pick up the phone and call 10 agencies right now and ask for their producer, just any producer, and say, hey, just out of curiosity, bro, what's your ideal prospect? They don't know. They can't tell you what it is. And meanwhile, if you were to call and ask me that question, I would say service contractor, preferably plumbing, HVAC, or electrician with 25 or more vehicles, 40 or more employees, 5 million or more a year in sales, and an experience modification factor of 1.0 or higher. That's who I want. You get me in front of that person, I am going to win way more than I'm going to lose. And that fits our model almost perfectly. Agencies work so hard at trying to figure out how to bring the revenue in. They don't stop to figure out, they don't work their way back to the beginning. Figure out what you want to be, where you want to be, then start at the very beginning. Okay, what does my ideal prospect look like to help me get there? And I don't think you have to have one. I tell every agency we work with, you need to have 4 or 5. 4 or 5 ideal prospects, so that you have a little bit of mix across what you're going after, and then build your prospect pipeline around that.
Yeah. We have this question all the time. Like, people come to us and they're like, we want to do some niche marketing. Like, we're looking at, restaurants, we're looking at this, we're looking at skating rinks, we're looking at this. And where should we start? Like, and my response is always like, dude, you got to really think about it from the beginning. Like, who are your markets? What is the service overhead like for that type of account? Does the underwriter like you? Do they hate you? are they going to be able to work with you on stuff when when you need help with something? Like, are they responsive? Like, it goes back to your markets, your carriers, I think, more than anything else. Like, you can't hop into a niche if you only have one option. Like, you're gonna eventually like lose. But it's just funny. Like, you got to really look at the entire process from top to bottom before you can pick what niche you want to go into. And then when you do go into a niche, like you're saying, you need to define who the ideal person is and like really build your program around that individual.
Well, I mean, look at trucking, right? Trucking's a niche, but how many niches are there inside of trucking? Do you want to focus on people that are hauling, reefer units? Do you want short haul? Do you want long haul? Do you want guys that are buying jobs off logistics boards? I mean, you can go a million different directions there.
Yeah, food truck insurance. I think there's somebody that actually ran with that and has like a website, I think, for that somewhere. But yeah, you're right, man.
I know Josh Witt has one for hot dog
carts. Does he? Nice.
I mean, I don't know how you get any more niche than that. But I mean, if you go in and type in hot dog cart insurance, where do you think you're going to go? I don't see a whole lot of competition there. And it's one of those deals where it's quote bind issue product too.
Yeah. The person can probably, fill the app out from their phone for something like that,
Right. Yeah, they can. And I mean, we have it. We do the same thing, right? I mean, everybody, we have the funnel for, I own Florida Wedding Insurance and about 15 other domains that point to that landing page. I have Keys Wedding Insurance, Tampa Wedding Insurance, Clearwater Wedding Insurance.com, all of this stuff. People look at me like I'm nuts when I tell them that because they want to know why I'm working in middle market commercial and then turning around and slinging $149.99 wedding policies. Well, the answer is because, I don't have to touch it and I get paid $50 for each one that I move. Yeah. And here's a fun fact. They dump into our CRM. Yeah. Right? So these people go into HubSpot. When they bind the policy, it immediately takes them to a landing page that's a video of me congratulating them on their big day, letting them know there's 4 or 5 other things they're going to have to think. Hey,
hello friends.
So, we get them ready tell them that all the things they're going to have to be thinking about and let them know. We set the expectation. We're going to reach out to you several times between now and your big day to remind you of changes that you're going to need to make. And it culminates with the week before their wedding. Hey, congratulations. You're only a week away. We just want to let you know we're thinking about you guys. Hope you have a great honeymoon, blah, 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 blah. And then the week after, 2 weeks after they get married, hey, congratulations. Everything's over. We just want to let you know we're so happy to have represented you through this. Let us know if there's anything else we can do. Here's how I look at this. We run display and search ads. As long as I bring in more than I spend on those ads, everybody else is out there paying for personal lines leads. I'm getting paid for personal lines leads. I'm not having to pay for my personal line stuff. I'm using the wedding insurance as a funding mechanism to dump 6, 7, 8 leads a day into the personal line system. Yep. And I'm getting paid $400 or $500 in the process. In my ad budget, like $200 a month.
Yeah, I mean, if you're good at cross-selling people, you can break even on your ads. You could spend $50 to make $50, but if you can cross-sell that person, upsell, get referrals, et cetera, like that's where your revenue is, But
I can tell you so far, the revenue on the wedding side for us averages, a few $1,000s a month, and I spend $200. Right. That's just the revenue from the wedding sales. Yep. That doesn't even count the personal line. So we're winning all the way around. And we're trying to replicate that. I mean, that's one of the things I'm going to engage with you guys with is, we've got Florida Child Care Insurance, Florida Martial Arts Insurance, Florida Fitness Club Insurance. I mean, Hanley's taken some of that stuff out of the playbook too, right? Because I know when he got his carriers, I told him, I said, look for these appetites, but I can give you the marketing funnel for all of this. Boom, it's already prepackaged. Just take it, brand it with Rogue Risk and put it up in New York. And he and I brainstorm probably a couple of times a day, every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He told me that he was in your program and he was loving it, man. He's
a good dude, man. He picked the exact worst time to start an agency, but the best time to front load your agency launch with content.
Yeah, he's an action taker too, though. So he's,
he knows what's up.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
He knows how to do all of that. Kyle, what you got, man? I mean, you're dominating the conversation over there.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I've been dealing with something here. But no, I just wanted, you've obviously given us a lot of great info. What would be like one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to kind of revamp, their marketing efforts or engage you?
Yeah. Man, I think that,
Get off your wallet is the first
yeah,
one. I'll give
that's
that.
a big part
Don't
of it,
be
right?
afraid to spend.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta really, you gotta have the right mindset with it. Like you can't put your website in the marketing expense column anymore. You know, it's the cost of doing business, dude. It's like your electric bill. Like it's 2020. Like,
Our website, hey, our podcast that we recorded with the guy from Diversicom, yes, Scott Bean, CEO of Diversicom, yesterday was treat technology like a team member. This cat goes in, and he is the only managed services provider that I know, his company, that does not sell product. There's no hardware, there's no software. They charge you a flat fee to manage your technology every single month. And what he does when he goes in is the first question he asks people is, what's your cost to run your business every day? What's your cost to run your business every month? What's your cost to run your business every year? Then he has every single one of his clients sit down and write out a job description for what technology should do for their
Yeah,
entity.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I saw that in passing. I saw I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but yeah, that caught my eye, and I was like, man, that's legit. That's true. You know, you really have to look at it as the cost of doing business. And the other part of it too is like on maybe a more granular level is I think agencies need to up their two things, their brand in general. Like a lot of people come to us, man, like their logo was created in like Microsoft Paint. And, you know, like we put it on one of our websites and we're like, man, like this really makes the website look bad, and it's not our fault. And it's, you know, we don't want to go to them and say, hey, your brand is ugly. Some people are very prideful about their logo and their colors and stuff like that. But I think reevaluating your image in that way, and then, you know, just adding humanity to your brand. Like your social media posts don't always need to be about insurance. Like just be real with people, you know, like your customers, they got a messy living room just like you do. You know, like your Instagram posts don't always have to be like, hey, like, you know, call us for a quote. It could be like, you know, I'm on my third beer and I'm like geeking out right now because coronavirus, whatever. Like people relate to that. I do that too. Right. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have posted that. But then I'm like, you know what? My clients are drinking beer too. Like, like, you know, yeah. I didn't do anything wrong.
My wife does that with Amazon orders.
Yeah, I'm sure packages show up and she's probably like, did you order this?
Every Tuesday's Christmas morning at our house.
Dude, Tuesday, every day that ends in Y at our house, it's ridiculous. We like four or five packages a day. It's insane.
That's funny. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, getting back to your question, I think that's probably the biggest piece of advice. Like think about, you know, don't think about the cost as an expense. Think about it as, you know, if I can outspend my competitors, I'm going to win. And, you know, your branding and your image in general, like if you can do those three things, like you're going to dominate, man. Like seriously, like, you know, this, like you have like swag out the wazoo, like these custom hats, like your branding is like on point, you know, and that's important, man. Like it's super important. You got to have something that you could show on social and, you know, with ads and stuff like that, you know, it's a big part of it.
I got 10 phone calls last week about Killing Commercial because the people that I leaked the welcome packages out to decided on their own they were going to do video reveals of what was in there, and that created enough buzz that people were like, oh, I saw that pack that Ricky got. I need to get some of that action. Yeah. I'm like, dude, what are you worried about a $60 box of stuff for? I mean, I'm going to show you how to write accounts that'll pay you $50,000 in commissions, and you're worried about the box.
Yep.
But I mean, that's the way that it is with everything. And it's funny because I get chastised, man. I spend a lot of money on branding and apparel and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it works. I don't care what anybody says. here's the deal, man. We record this, we publish it. I promise you, the week that this goes live, there's a box that's going to show up at your house that's a one-of-a-kind box. Nobody in the world will have what you have that we've sent to you. And if you, and it's, I'm not saying that, so I can beat my chest and say, hey, Chris,
Sure.
I'm awesome. I'm sending you something cool. I'm saying it because I think we miss the fact that if you make people feel awesome, if you make people feel important, they are going to do business with you. They're going to continue to do business with you, and they're going to brag about you, and their friends are going to want to do that because their friends aren't getting it. And I think, I read all these snarky remarks about agents bitching and moaning about how they have to service this. And I had a client that called me at 11 o'clock last night and thought that I was actually, well, that's because that's when they needed something. Yeah. I mean, if somebody's house is on fire, let me just put the phone down and call me back at 8:30 tomorrow morning when I'm open for business. That's not what this is. And I think that there's too many times. I was going back, I was talking about it in a thread in Cass's Facebook group this morning. I said, I approach this the same way that I did when I ran grocery stores in the late 90s. It's that simple. There is a ripple effect on how you treat every single client, whether it's good or it's bad. And back then, if you treated somebody really good or really bad, you were going to either pick up 10 to 20 new customers or you were going to lose 10 to 20 new customers. Yep. Now with the internet and everything else, it's way, way, way more than what it used to be. And all you have to do is treat people right. So, well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Doubt, man.
I want to give you the opportunity to tell everybody where to find you if they don't know already. I'll be shocked, but tell them. That's always the standing joke. This guy's so good at marketing. Why do you have to tell us where to find him? But tell them where to find you, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So advisorevolved.com. That's our main our main company. We do the website development.
We're to call that the flagship.
The brand. Flagship, yeah. And then localtrafficmarketing.com is where you could find how to outrank competitors, build your local brand, and generate more calls and leads online. And if anybody has any questions who's listening, hit me up, Chris at advisorevolved.com.
And if you don't want to hit him up, you can hit me up, and I promise you, I will drop the truth on you. He has to be polished when he gives you the opinion. I don't.
I've seen it. I've seen it a couple of times.
Well, listen, I appreciate you being on, Chris. Thanks so much for all that you do for us. And if there's anything we like to try and help the people who help us be successful. And we look forward to working with Local Traffic and watching that thing blow up just like the rest. And it'll be interesting to see what the next brand is, because I know it's not going to stop there. So,
absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Seriously.
Absolutely. Stay safe up there.
All right. Later. See you.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.